You may be seated. We're here today for an order of protection, case number 2025-6298. Are you Mrs. Steele?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you Mr. Steele?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If you will both please stand for me and raise your right hands. I'm going to swear you in before I hear any testimony. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Mrs. Steele, you filed for an order of protection. Tell me why you need that.
Well, Your Honor, it was a Saturday, and Billy was drunk. He had been drinking all day, and he started getting irritated and angry at every little thing. He started accusing me of stuff, and he was just really upset. He threw a lamp against the wall, and then he grabbed me and slammed me up against the wall, and he put his hands around my neck and squeezed me really hard. I was choking. He's a lot bigger than me, and I couldn't get away. But then the baby started crying, and he loosened his grip, and I was able to use that time to dial 911 and call the police.
Were there any charges filed against Mr. Steele?
Yes. DV second charge.
Mr. Steele, do you have a pending DV second charge?
Yeah, but it's all a lie.
All right, you'll get your chance to tell me your side of the story later, and also question any witnesses that Mrs. Steele may call. You may proceed.
I had bruises around my neck from Billy's hands, and I actually have pictures of them here.
All right. If you'll please hand those pictures to the bailiff for me. And also, if you have a copy for Mr. Steele, if you'll hand those to the bailiff, and the bailiff will give those to him as well. Mr. Steele, did all of this take place in Lawrence County?
It did.
Mrs. Steele, do you have any questions that you would like to ask Mrs. Steele? Remember, this is the only time for questions. If you want to testify later, you'll get that time, but right now it's just the time for questions.
Yeah, I got a few. You were drunk that day, weren't you?
I had a couple of beers, but I remember everything.
Yeah, you know you were drunk. Your memory's clear.
Mr. Steele, once again, this is only a time for you to ask Mrs. Steele questions. You will get your time to testify later.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry. Isn't it true you were hitting on my buddy Tony that night?
No, it's not true, but you tend to accuse me of things like this whenever you're drunk.
Is that all of your questions, Mrs.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mrs. Steele, do you have any more witnesses?
Yes, I would like to call as a witness my neighbor, Maria Sanchez.
Ms. Sanchez, if you'll come up to the witness stand for me. And if you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, you may be seated. If you'll introduce yourself, and I'll be glad to hear anything you have to tell me.
Okay, my name is Maria Sanchez, and I'm the Steele's neighbors, and on the night that Jamie's talking about, it was pretty late, and I heard some loud knocking at my door, and the doorbell rang, and the knocking was real frantic, and as I got closer to the door, I heard somebody yelling, "Help, help, let me in." And I realized it was Jamie, so I opened the door and she was crying and upset and just gasping for air, and she looked really disheveled or roughed up, and she told me what Billy had done to her, so I called the police right away, and they came and they asked if they could talk to Jamie at my house, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. whatever they need to do, and then they left.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Mrs. Steele, do you have any questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Steele, would you like to cross-examine this witness?
Yeah, thank you. Isn't it true we've gotten along well as neighbors in the past?
Yeah, that's true.
Wasn't Jamie pretty drunk whenever she came over that night?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean,
But she's always drunk on Saturdays, right?
no, I wouldn't say that either.
Any other questions for this witness, Mr. Steele?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Sanchez, you may return back to your seat. Thank you. Any other witnesses?
Yes, I would like to call as a witness Officer Smith. Officer Smith was there on the day of the incident and also took pictures.
Officer Smith, if you'll please come up to the witness stand. Please raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated. If you'll please introduce yourself, and I'm glad to hear any testimony from you.
Thank you. I'm Officer Smith of the Orange County Sheriff's Department. I was dispatched on the night of the incident at Steele's home. I talked with Mrs. Steele at Mrs. Sanchez's house. That's her neighbor's house. I could tell she was upset. I could tell she had been crying. And like normal procedure, I took down an incident report and I took some photos.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Any questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Steele, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yeah, I do, thank you. Did you see any bruises on her neck that night that you took those pictures?
At that time, no.
No further questions, thank you.
Officer Smith, you may return to your seat. Thank you so much. All right. Any other witnesses from you, Mrs. Steele?
No, Your Honor.
Mrs. Steele, would you like to testify? You have a right to do so, or call any other witnesses. But since you are facing pending criminal charges, you may want to discuss this with your criminal defense attorney first.
I got something to say. I'm sure she's lying. I know she made up those photos. She and her sister used some makeup or something, doctored them all. She just wants to leave me, and this is her best excuse of doing so.
Mrs. Steele, can you explain to the court how you got those photos?
Sure. Well, my sister took the photo. We went through the phone together. I saw her email them to the store, and then I picked them up from the store and I brought them here.
Anything else, Mr. Steele?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't think I should have to pay child support. I already support my children. I always take good care of them. There's no sense in me having to be forced to pay child support. I'm already paying it.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that. Mrs. Steele, do you have any questions for Mr. Steele?
Yes, Your Honor. Billy, this isn't the first time you put your hands on me, is it?
Oh, you know I never put my hands on you.
Calm down. Calm down, Mr. Steele. Based on the evidence presented to me today, including testimony from all witnesses, I find that Mrs. Steele's testimony is credible and it meets the burden required for me to grant an order of protection. However, I'm not going to address the issue of child support, the marital home, or custody due to the parties being married. One of the parties can file a private action in the family court for these issues to be addressed. If you will both please wait outside, the bailiff will bring you a copy of the order. And best of luck to you both.
Thank you.